This is Who Did You Boycott Today. I'm going to jump on here and say a few words before I lay down and take a quick nap so I can get back up and work on my websites. These sorry human beings don't deserve time off of my life, but I need to broadcast and say a few choice words about these sorry human beings that are in my title. Person by the name of Jake, and assume whatever her name is. I met Assume in Jake's face way back sometime around July 2023. Well, how fast do time pass? How fast do time pass? Don't seem like it's been over a year ago. It really don't seem like it's been over a year ago. I've been thinking about that today, and I remember exchanging some back channel messages, DM messages with Assume. I want to pronounce her name correctly. Assume. So Assume and Dawn / AKA Let It Be Known, Dawn / AKA Let It Be Known is her new Twitter name. But that was not the Twitter name that she had when I first ran into her over here on Twitterland. I know her by Dawn. I met her on Clubhouse, and her name on Clubhouse was Dawn. It's amazing how folks can just change their name and try to pretend what they said and done is forgotten about. Just change your name, just spell out a new name, and keep right on trucking like you haven't done anything. But getting to Jake, I was listening to a little bit of one of his spaces on Twitterland, and normally I don't listen to Jake's space. I just can't stomach it. I'm gonna be frankly honest with you. I just can't stomach it. The last time that I was in Jake's room, it was a little bit of back and forth about. Let me see if I can remember something. I'm trying to remember what exchange we had. It's not coming back to me, but it's been a very, very long time. I can tell you that. It's been a very, very long time since I told my little brain to click on a title for a Twitter space that Jake started. But today, I decided to push the button on replay because Jake had that fake acronym BANF in his title. He put it in his title, so something told me, the devil told me to click on the replay and listen to a little bit of it. Because like I told you, since I left out of that room, it's been probably a year ago. It's probably been a year ago since the last time I was in a room with Jake that he hosted. So I let the devil tell me to click on the title for his replay. And Jake is in there explaining that they are only going to accept identifiers of folks who have paperwork. Well, folks, these folks been going going back listening to my broadcast, I am convinced of it. Every time I go back and listen to one of their replays, I can tell they have been listening to my broadcast. I want them to understand that I can pick up on it. It's not escaping me. I can certainly see how their tune has changed from the initial encounter that I had with each of them. I can remember the initial encounter, and they won't talk in that way. None of those words that I hear in the past few months was coming out of their mouth. So I clearly know the difference. I hope they don't think it's escaping me. They have reshaped their talking points based on listening to my broadcast from what I can evaluate. They really think I can't remember what I say on my broadcast. They must be assuming that I just don't remember what I say on my broadcast. Well, I remember every word that come out of my mouth. I do. I may not remember the ands and the a and the and the little words like that and the if, but I remember the big points down to the nitty detail. I remember it because I have thought about it for a good while, so I'm not gonna just have amnesia, and I'm not senile yet. I may be headed that way. I just may be headed that way because I'm 62 years old, and I'm gonna have a birthday. If the Lord bless me to still be around, I'm going to have a birthday in a couple of months. It's down the road. Still down the road a couple of months, so I ain't got to think about it right now. I may not live to see it. Who knows? Only God knows. So I ain't got to think about that birthday that's down the road. I'm thinking about current day and these sorry human beings like Jake and Assume and Dawn, a.k.a. Let It Be Known. And now I have to add Talent, New Negro Republic, to that list. That list is a mile long. It's a mile long. We got DJ Big A, we got Denmark, we got Mark King Carter, we got Chicago Red, we got Sexy Raw, we got Miss T, we got Amplify, we got Dante, we got the whole shoot shaboom of all of them. Too many to name, but they know who they are. But like I started to say, I clicked on that replay, and Jake was in his room claiming that Black American came, the ethnicity or the identity of term Black American came before Negro. Why in God's name are these lying people running around telling people that Black American came before Negro when they clearly know there's a ton of paperwork out there that proves that's a lie. It proves it's a lie. We got 246 years that was recorded as Negro slavery. And these sorry human beings don't want to acknowledge that that's how it was recorded. Because they want to change it, because they want Black American to be given credit and acknowledgement for that time period. But they're not going to get away with it. They are not going to get away with it. They may think they are getting away with it, but slavery in America was recorded as Negro slavery. It was not recorded as descendants of slaves. It wasn't recorded as U.S. descendants of chattel slavery. It wasn't recorded as American descendants of slaves. No, every time one of those human beings were put up for sale, they stated it in black and white. This Negro is up for sale today. They've been listening to my broadcast that I pointed that out. So they went in their little think tanks, and said, we're going to come up with a new definition because we don't want to say Negro out of our mouth. So they sat around a table, and their little brains decided to come up with a new definition called U.S. descendants of slaves, U.S. descendants of chattel slavery. They got a couple of versions, but what they cannot do, they can't go out there and collect all of that documentation that was documented before they were born. Google in America is doing a good job of trying to erase it. But I clearly have my family tree downloaded on my disk. My gut told me to make sure I download it. So I think I have it downloaded on about 2 or 3 discs. And I just can't. I have so many discs, those little disc things that you download information onto. I may not be pronouncing it right. Those little things that you download information to. I have downloaded my family tree information onto those disk drives, those little discs. And my family tree paperwork says Negro on it. I remember coming across one family member that had a capital B, black. My grandmother, who I was named after, she had mulatto. She was listed in a family of 30 persons. It shocked me to come across that information, that my mother's mother was listed in a family of 30. And they listed her as mulatto. On another website, they have her listed as, I think it was either black or color. But I think it was one of the two. And so I have already taken upon myself to download my family tree. And most of my family members had the letter capital N for Negro. I came across a birth certificate, marriage license, and my grandfather, one of his children was stillborn. That was very painful to have to learn that information. But these sorry human beings think they are going to get a bag of money by tethering to Negro. So when I was listening to Jake Space, he repeated the same thing out of his mouth that Assume had repeated out of her mouth on Saturday, the room that she did with Dawn, a.k.a. Let It Be Known. They claim that B and A stands for the civil rights time period. And the N, Negro, is there for the money. And F for Freeman is there for the land. That's a bald-faced lie. That's a bald-faced lie. Negro came first because Negro slavery was recorded for 246 years. And they are not going to change that. I don't care how they run around here and tell persons that Black American is going to be an ethnicity. When I really think about it, I clearly understand the attachment folks have to the word Black American. They are holding on to it with a death grip, a downright death grip, because they think they're going to lose their Black pride. Maybe they think they're going to lose their Black pride. Maybe they think they're going to lose their Black power or their Black culture if they cannot identify as a Black American. Well, if you got a brain in your head, black pride and black power and black culture is a lived experience. Not just anyone can have that, can really live that lived experience. It only happens to a certain percent of human beings. A person from Germany cannot have a lived experience of black pride. A person from Jamaica cannot have a lived experience of black power. A person from Ethiopian cannot have black culture, because that's a lived experience that's passed down from generation to generation. Now, if I go to Jamaica, I'm going to have a lived experience of a Jamaican environment. If I go to Germany, I'm going to have a lived experience of a person living in Germany. If I go to Ethiopian, I am going to have a lived experience of living in the environment of Ethiopian. So no one can come to America with melanated skin and have a lived experience of Black American. Well, let me correct myself. No one can come to America with brown or dark brown skin and have a lived experience of black pride. Because black pride is different depending on what environment you grow up in. That's just common sense. There's no two environments exactly the same. There's no two environments on this earth that are exactly the same. The lived experience of a black person in America is different from a lived experience of someone in Jamaica with brown skin and dark brown skin. A person with brown and dark brown skin are not going to have the same pride of their melanated skin. Depends on their environment. It depends on their upbringing and their whole lived experience. It's going to be different. It's going to be different depending on what environment you end up growing up in. No one can take that from me. No one can copy it. No one can cosplay it. It's not gonna fly. Folks gonna try to do it. They're gonna try to do it, but they're not gonna be able to duplicate it. No one coming from Europe or the continent or Jamaica or Haiti can duplicate the lived experience of a black person in America. They cannot do that. They can make an attempt to do it, but they'll never be able to duplicate it, because it's a lived experience passed down in the DNA from one generation to the next. I will never be able to have the lived experience of a Jamaican person because it's not passed down in my DNA. I can go to Jamaica and live there for 20 or 40 years, but I'm not going to have the lived experience. No matter how long I live there, I'm just not going to have it. I can go to Ethiopian, Nigerian. I am not going to have a lived experience, whether I live there for 20, 40 years, 50 years. I'm just not going to have the same lived experience of the persons of that landmass because it's passed down in the DNA. A lived experience is passed down from person to person in a DNA that no one can duplicate. Just because you have the same skin tone don't mean that you have the same lived experience. It depends on your environment. It depends on the people around you as you grow up. It depends on other factors also. But no one can duplicate it. Each human being have an individual lived experience. I grew up with brothers and sisters, 4 brothers, and two sisters. Each one of us had a different lived experience. Even though we came out of the same mother and we grew up in the same household, we each had our own individual lived experience. It wasn't duplicated. And so, these sorry human beings, I think they are desperate to think that they're going to lose their black pride and their black